Hey guys, it's Jeremy again, back for another video. I decided to share with you guys some of my favorite TV shows. You guys think books are a big part of my life, hence the giant bookshelf full of books on that shelf. 90% I haven't read yet. I have an issue. But besides that, my first loves are TV shows, because TV shows, I would rather watch a TV series than sit down and watch a movie. I have so many movies, and yet I can't seem to get rid of any of them, even though I never watch any of them either, so. But TV shows is something I grew up watching all the time. There None of these are in any particular order. Since I do love TV shows so much and I watch so many of them, there's never been one TV show that I have absolutely loved more than any of the others. Um, so these are just some of my favorites. And none of these are in any particular order. I'm just going to go and show it to you. This first one I started watching when I was 13. I was homesick from school because I had the flu or something. I was throwing up. It was ugly. And I was flipping through the TV, and an episode of the show popped up. Funny enough, it was actually the pilot of the show. I watched it, and I fell in love with it. And that is The Andy Griffith Show, created by Andy Griffith and Don Knotts, essentially. But I love this show. It is a 1960s sitcom that aired in the 1960s in a small town of Mayberry in North Carolina, and it follows the main character of Andy Taylor, who is the sheriff of the small town, and he is raising his very small son Opie. And things happen in the small town. The first 5 seasons are my all-time favorite seasons. The colored seasons are okay, but my all-time favorite seasons are the first 3. It's when Opie is still pretty small, and so many words of wisdom comes from the show in terms of growing up and learning wonderful life lessons, and I love it very, very much. Next one is, and I'm showing you the first seasons of shows, because a lot of these shows aren't done yet, and either they're not done yet, I don't have the seasons, or I just haven't been, or I'm not caught up with them. But the next one is Smallville. I have completed this show, but I do not own all the seasons. I only have the first 4 and then season 10. I'm still missing seasons 5 to 9, and I'll buy them eventually. But I was in Walmart one day, and they had this season with the second season in like a shrink wrap for like for $20. I was like, $20 for 2 seasons, like 40 something episodes. Steal. And they had the same thing for seasons 3 and 4, so that's how I was able to get the first 4. But this is one of my favorite TV shows of all time, as well as one of my favorite first seasons of a show, and I think I might do a spin-off video to that, talking about my favorite first seasons, where the first season just was so good. It's not the best season of the show, but it was such a wonderful season to start off such an epic show. And I view this show as epic. It made 10 seasons, 218 episodes, and this was my childhood, apart from Buffy and Angel and Charmed and other shows. Speaking of Buffy, though, that is a honorable mention. I do not own that show, so I'm going to go ahead and say one of my favorite shows of all time is Buffy the Vampire Slayer, created by Joss Whedon. One of my faves. One of my favorites. Highly recommend that show. I might gift that to myself for Christmas or something, so I can have that show again, because, yeah. But Smallville. If you don't know, this follows Clark Kent as he is at least in this season, he's a freshman in high school, and he has all of Superman's abilities except for a few of them, and he has to just live his life saving people. It's just a really, really great show, and the first 4 seasons follow him in high school. Season 1, he's a freshman. Second season, sophomore, junior, and senior. And then season 5, he goes to college. And then things happen in season 5 that pulls him out of college. I won't say it because of spoilers. And then 6 through the rest of the show, he's kind of living his adult life. So I would say the first 5 seasons could easily be like YA-ish. And then 6 through 10 are very much adult because it deals with Clark as an adult man. And the first 4 seasons are my all-time favorite because I loved this setting in high school. I just loved, because even though it was high school, it didn't necessarily deal with a whole bunch of high school problems all the time, and it's just one of my favorite shows ever. Anyway, next show I'm going to really recommend. If I haven't recommended this show before, I really love this show with every fiber of my being, and probably a good, I want to say, year and a half since I watched it. So I need to do another binge watch, and that is Merlin, also known as The Adventures of Merlin in the UK. This is actually a BBC series, but you can get it in the US. This follows Merlin, who's a boy who, well, he's Merlin from like the Arthurian legends of, he is meant to encourage and father King Arthur in a sense. And so good. It's so good. It's so fucking funny. You don't expect it to be funny, and yet it is. It is a fantasy series. It is a fantasy TV show, high fantasy TV show, without it being, it's fantasy, but it's not, and it's high fantasy. It's got a lot of, like, there's not a lot of political aspects. It's my go-to fantasy TV show. Instead of people like Game of Thrones for their fantasy, I like Merlin. I would choose Merlin over Game of Thrones in terms of TV shows every time, no matter what. I'm very disappointed that this show only got to make 5 seasons. I'm heartbroken by that. And I won't say too much, and I eventually will do season reviews for this show, which I've been meaning to start that series, or those type of videos where I will basically hold up this season in a review, and I will basically talk about and rewiew the season, but I need to rewatch it first. Like I said, it's been more than a year and a half since I watched the show, and I don't remember a lot, so once I rewatch this season, I will post that review of it, because I want more people to know about the wonderfulness and love of this show. Oh gosh, it's so good, and I adore it. A lot of people ship Merlin and Arthur in a romantic pairing. I do not. I think they are better as best friends, because I think if they were romantically involved, I just wouldn't. I don't think I would be able to be on board with that kind of relationship. I'm not opposed to gay relationships. I'm a bisexual man. I'll talk about that in a later video, but I am LGBTQA things. My brain's not working today, but I'm not opposed to that. It's just these characters, I've seen them for so long not in that setting. Some people ship them together. I'm just one of those who definitely do not. I'm sorry about the glare. I think it would be interesting to see them as a couple. I think they just work much better as best friends, and that's what they are. They are best friends. The next show is a show that ended last month. It is officially over, and so many people they love the show so much they don't want to see it end. I have not watched the last 2 seasons of this show. I've only seen the first 4 seasons, and that is the U.S. version of Teen Wolf. I have to say U.S. version because there is a UK show that's also called Teen Wolf, but I think they only made 4 or 5 seasons. The show made 6. So I'm waiting until season 6 part 2 comes out, which comes out in 3 days on DVD, and I'll be able to get it on the 2nd of November, because that's when my paycheck comes next. And I'll be able to get the last season. Once that happens, I will slowly binge watch the last 2 seasons, 5 and 6. I don't know if I'll do a series. I don't think I'll do individual reviews, but I will definitely do a full-blown series review for Teen Wolf, because it's one of my favorite shows of all time. I loved the first 4 seasons like a hell of a lot. I love the mythology that they bring in. It's not just about werewolves. It's about so much stuff going on. It's about all of these mythological creatures, and a lot of these really awesome characters, really attractive characters, if I'm being honest. It's great. My favorite characters of the show is Scott, definitely Scott. He is the main protagonist of the show. Scott, #1 Styles, love him. Derek, I love him. Jackson, who is only in the first 2 seasons, but I heard that he's in, I think, 3 episodes of the last season, so that's exciting. But yes, there's so many characters to love in here, and I absolutely just love, love, love what Jeff Davis did with the entire idea of this show. I loved it, and I really, really recommend that you watch it if you haven't yet. Another one is a favorite of mine, which I didn't expect to be a fan of, and that is The Vampire Diaries. I mean, who is not a fan of this show? I mean, everyone seems to be. And my lovely sister Catherine was very sweet enough to buy me the other seasons of the show I do not have, because I have season 1, 5, 6, no. I have season 1, and then I have 6, 7, and 8. So she got me the other seasons that I don't have, because I've only seen this season. I haven't seen the rest of it, and I loved this like a lot. I watched the first 2 seasons years ago, but I forgot a lot of what happened. But this is an amazing show. I love Stefan and Damon like you wouldn't believe. I love the book series by L.J. Smith, and I'm still a little salty on the fact that this is not an accurate adaptation. And I just feel like we have missed our time to ever see a adaptation of her work. It makes me sad. I don't know. It's kind of disappointing, but it's still really great. I like to think of this as a alternative universe of L.J. Smith's work. You need to watch this. It's so good. It's bloody and it's honest, and it doesn't hide things from you. It doesn't talk down to you. It's very honest. It is a bloody vampire show. It kind of have elements of Buffy-ness in there. Not really, but I like that it mentions things like Twilight and those vampires. And it says, a fresh spin on vampires with a compelling, spooky storylines and a soul-biting cast. I just think that Kevin Williamson and Julie Plec did do a great job at telling the story. I do understand that there's a lot of things why the show did not work, but I did do a video about my dislike of the show a couple years ago when I compared the books to the show, and I'll leave that up in the card if you want to check that video out. I was kind of a bitch in that video, so you'll have to bear with me. I was just so angry because I had watched the first season at the time, and I did enjoy it, but every episode I was like, okay, well, that's not like the books. This isn't like the books. This is not like the books either. Neither is this. Neither is this. And the more episodes I watched, the more I got a little bit annoyed. But I think this is a fantastic first season as well. So, yes. And then in more on the lines of adult TV shows, I have a couple. This is Outlander. I never did review the last half of Outlander season 2. I do own Outlander season 1 part 2, but I never reviewed it because I forgot so much. I'm planning on rewatching the first season and then doing a full-blown season 1 review, and then I own season 2, haven't watched it. I've read the book that the second season is based on, but I have not watched it either. It will happen, I promise, because the show is just brilliant. This show follows Claire Randall, who is a nurse in World War II. The war has ended when this book starts. So her and her husband Frank are on their second honeymoon. She visits these standing stones in the British Isles, and she just touches them just for, to feel them or whatever. And then she is magically transported back in, I forgot, 1743 Scotland, in the Scotland Highlands, and a whole bunch of shit goes down. I don't have a review of the book anymore because it was just a really bad review, so I deleted that review. So I want to refilm it, but there's no way I'm going to reread the book. The book took me 3 months to complete, and I want to continue on with the third book because I've read the first 2 books. So what I may end up doing is rewatching the first season of the show and then filming my book review, because I still remember quite a bit, and same thing goes with the second book, but just a little bit. We're going to continue on with another favorite series of mine, and that is Angel. I have a lot of issues with a lot of aspects to this show, but it's still one of my favorite TV shows. I think the first three seasons are really, really, really good. The fourth season, I really strongly dislike. I think Joss Whedon had way too much going on, though. I could make a whole video ranting and about talking about in detail. It is the one season of a show that I felt like it was like 5 seasons in one. It felt that long. I'm not kidding you. It felt that long, and it was just really, oh my gosh, end already. But anyway, this is also a spin-off series of Buffy, which lasted for 5 seasons. So it is a favorite show of mine, and I do really still like it. I love the first season. This is perfection, and I just adore it. I adore it. Lots. Next show I have is Gilmore Girls, which with my sister Catherine, also got me hooked on this. And I loved this as I loved the Gilmore Girls revival episodes, which I'm really disappointed that we're not getting on DVD, because I would have loved to have had the DVD so it can go with the rest of the show. That way I don't have to watch it on Netflix using up all of my damn internet. But this is basically a show that follows a mother and daughter team duo, and it's just really great following both of their lives as this show spans for the 7 seasons they made, and it's just wonderful. I think my favorite season, that's really hard, because this is a great opening first season to a really interesting show. I want to say, because the first 3 seasons Rory is in high school, and then 5 through 7 she's in college. So I think my favorite high school season would be season 1, and my favorite college season would probably be season 7, maybe 6. I don't really know. Excuse me. And I lost it. Don't you hate it when that happens? Sorry about that. And this is, if Buffy and Angel weren't childhood material, this show is, and that's Charmed. This is not a recognizable DVD, but I do have a recognizable copy. This is, here, we'll use this one instead anyway. This is the first season of Charmed, and this is one of my absolute favorite TV shows. I remember having so much fun watching this show when I was growing up, and I loved it. This is one of those shows where I loved everything except for the last season. I had a lot of issues with the last season. They weren't like problematic problems I had with it. It was nothing like that. It's just, I think because Aaron Spelling was going to die soon, I felt like the last season was just very thrown together very sloppily. Leo was not a part of the show because Brian Krause, the actor who played him, wanted a break from the show. I don't know why actors and do that when it's the last season of the show. Allison Mack did the same thing with Smallville. She's only in like 10 episodes of season 10. I was really disappointed in that. But considering that she was on it basically just as long as Tom Welling and she didn't leave, I kind of understand in a lot of ways, I suppose. But I love the show, so just because I didn't like the last season doesn't mean the show is not worth it. And the first 3 seasons have Shannon Doherty as Prue in it, which are my absolute favorite seasons of the show. And I loved it, and you should watch it because it is very good. Second last, 2 more shows to go. This is actually not the first season, this is actually the 8th season because it's what I'm currently watching at the moment, and that is Friends. I finally dived in and started watching this show about a month and a half ago. I haven't been watching the show for very long. I've been breezing through these seasons like there is no tomorrow. I will say I think my favorite seasons of the show so far, because I've gotten, I think, about 10 episodes into this season so far. No, I'm 6 episodes. I've watched the first 6 of this season so far. I think the first 4 seasons are my absolute favorite. When when the show was still in the earlier seasons. I mean, the whole show is great from what I've seen. I haven't watched all of season 8, and I haven't watched 9 or 10 yet, but I will. And this is a show there's too many seasons to do individual season reviews, so I probably will do a whole show review when I finish this. But I really, really love it. It's really funny, and I really like these characters, like, a lot. So it's a good thing, and I'm really excited to continue on with it. And last but definitely not least, there are a few honorable mentions before I do this, would be TV shows like Avatar: The Last Airbender is a big, longtime favorite show of mine. I just didn't want to include it. Same thing with the spin-off show to that would be The Legend of Korra, is also absolutely fantastic. Another used to be favorite show of mine, but I don't like it anymore, and that is How I Met Your Mother. Once I started watching Friends, I realized what a big, complete ripoff How I Met Your Mother was of Friends. Like, you compare the two shows. I will leave a video from Mojo.com's review of the two shows up in the card as well, and you will see exactly how they're way too similar to each other. But anyway, last but definitely not least, favorite show of mine goes to Supernatural, which is created by Eric Kikapike, something like that. I'm horrible at pronunciations, we all know that by now, but this is one of my favorite TV shows. I am currently on the 7th season of this show, watching it. I have not started the 9th episode, so no spoilers, please. But this is definitely a favorite, like, fantasy sci-fi favorite TV show, along with Merlin, and along with several others that I love. This is great. It is great. They recently just started season 13. I believe they've aired the first 2 episodes of that season so far, so they're going still really strong. My favorite seasons of the show are the first 5. Those are absolute all-time favorites. I was very incredibly disappointed with season 6, and season 7 is okay. It's not great. We'll see how the season progresses with the last half, because I'm almost halfway through the season, so we'll see. But this is wonderful. This follows 2 brothers, Sam and Dean Winchester, and they basically hunt monsters from vampires, ghosts, demons, you fucking name it. They hunt it, they kill it, they destroy it, and save people. Saving people, hunting things, the family business. I think that's how it goes. It's probably wrong, but this is great. I loved it. The first 5 seasons are so good. The show is really good as a whole. I mean, I may have some. I don't really like this. I don't like season 6. Okay, like, at all. I've watched it twice. My opinions on it have not changed. So if you have not watched the show, as with all these shows I'm recommending, you should check it out. Netflix has the 12 seasons, so it's pretty great. So those are all of my current favorite TV shows. Well, not current ones, but they're some of my favorites. Probably another big favorite of mine would be Roseanne. I really like Roseanne. Golden Girls is really funny. Like, if you want, like, a show about women and, like, feminist, kick-ass, don't care about what anyone thinks, Golden Girls is really hilarious. Another sitcom that I used to watch is The Nanny, and I haven't watched that in years, but from what I remember, that was really funny. I got into Dragon Ball Z a couple years ago, and I watched the first 2 seasons of that. It's okay. A lot more action-oriented than I thought it was going to be, but it's still really great. I have the first 2 seasons of Star Wars Rebels. Have not watched that because I was told you can't until you watch the Star Wars Clone Wars show, so I'll be watching that first. Just to say something random. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you thought about all these favorite TV shows. Are you a fan of any of these? Is there any one of these shows you would like me to do a series review? I could easily do that for Charmed, easily, because I watched that show religiously. You could name the title of an episode and I could tell you basically a rough premise of what happens in that episode, like a very rough idea of it. I loved it so much, and I would watch it over and over for years. So it's been a while since I've done that. I should probably do that pretty soon. So I will catch you guys in the next video. So thank you for watching, and thanks. Bye.